Mommytrack Daddy Whispers Podcast is now called Birth Agni Podcast.
You're listening to Mommytrack Daddy Whispers Podcast, Bite-Sized Pregnancy Series, where we discuss the major parts of pregnancy so that you are able to make informed decisions throughout it. Good morning or good evening, whatever time of the day that you're listening to me. It's pretty cold here in India early in the mornings now that it is November. And I'm sipping on hot water while I talk to you. How are you? How have you been? How do you feel? I know it has been a few weeks from the last pregnancy series episode, but how are you feeling? Are you awaiting the birth now? Does it feel like forever in your case, or do you picture yourself holding the baby or feeding the baby? Have you already made plans on the kind of parents you're going to be, you and your partner? And maybe you think that this new dimension of your life is going to add to your relationship. So many things circle our mind in pregnancy, and we are seldom in a state of blissful daydreaming. Today I've come to you to talk to you about breast changes during pregnancy, and the aim is to encourage you to learn about your breastfeeding preferences right from pregnancy, as there is a reason behind it. Early postpartum is usually filled with lots of new things, absolutely new things, no matter how much we imagine. It's a new baby, it has its own preferences. You want to take time to learn about your baby, the baby is going to take time to learn about you. And that time is filled with a lot of hard work, and at that time to think about your preferences or to search about what is happening, what is normal and what is not is actually a lot of pain. Which is why we're going to talk about breast changes during pregnancy today in this episode. And I know you would say, I spoke to you about it in episode 9 of this series where we discussed breast leakage during pregnancy. Or episode 2 of season 2 where we discussed common breastfeeding concerns. What still makes me come to you with this episode about breast changes in pregnancy is that the two things that heavily change in pregnancy is your breasts and your uterus. They both have a very important function to do. And the function of the breasts, it starts right in pregnancy. And the reason we are doing this is to encourage you, like I said, to prepare early about your preferences for your feeding journey in the pregnancy itself, so that it is less painful, it is less of a headache later when you struggle with postpartum. Additionally, I assisted 2 moms in their early postpartum period, and a lot of their issues were related to the milk supply. And the amount of information I gave them, I felt if all of this was known to them early in the pregnancy, late in the pregnancy, it would have been beneficial because it was tons of information and I felt it was overwhelming. In the postpartum period, when you are low on sleep, when you are trying to figure things out, when you are fresh understanding the new phase of your life. Which is why I'm now gonna unwrap the wonderful changes our body goes through in pregnancy to ensure lactation or breastfeeding. And I hope that when I tell you about these changes, you realize that these are happening to me in my body during pregnancy and you notice it. And I hope that this will help you trust your body very well and trust the inbuilt functions of your body. Your body has the ability to make things happen like this baby. And don't worry if you do not notice all of these changes. They are surely happening. But some of us notice some things and some of us do not. And some of us notice some other things. So it's absolutely normal. It's absolutely trustworthy Your body is absolutely trustworthy. That is what I wanted to say. So what are the changes that you see? The blood flow to the breasts increase. And this can be seen as a very visible presence of veins on the breasts. So a lot of blood starts coming to your breasts because it needs to grow. It needs to build new functionality. Then there is the itching on your breasts that start happening early on itself, and probably a feeling of tenderness. Do you feel it? And all of this signifies that something is going on in there. They increase in size, and you would see the increase in the darker black region or dark region rather around your nipples, the areola. When that starts to become big or grow, you start really noticing the changes. And that's also when your breasts are enlarging. Your pigmentation is also increasing. So the darker region around your nipples and the nipples itself, they're going to become dark. They're going to become large. And the hormones towards the end of your pregnancy, they start changing in levels. So the entire pregnancy is based on hormones, and you already know that. You can see that in your mood changes. You have seen that in your mood changes. Towards the end of the pregnancy, some of us can be in false labor. They can feel some contractions. They can feel some pain in the back. You can feel your uterus tightening also. You can feel some of these or none of these, but the hormones at the end of the pregnancy, trust your body, they are changing. This happens to allow birth to happen, to allow your baby to come out, and then breastfeeding to start. You would be surprised, or I think you already know that, the first milk comes right in pregnancy, which is why some of us experience the presence of tiny crystals that I covered in episode 9 on our breasts. It can scare us. It did to me. But later in the pregnancy, these changes, the presence of crystals on your nipples, indicates that you're already making milk. Now that you're listening attentively, I'm already making milk. And you know the changes. You know some of these, the increased blood flow, etc. I'm sure you must be able to think and thank your body for doing all of this work. And even if you notice, like I said, some of these symptoms, it is not a mandate to notice all of them. Believe in yourself. So I think there is good reason to have faith in your powerful body because you look beautiful. Your belly is growing beautifully. It's doing the hard work and you can feel it. It developed an entire human being from almost nothing and without any assistance. And it can produce milk too. So trusting your body that it's doing the hard work, it has all it takes to ensure the best for your baby. I read this study that said that most women can produce milk. And there is a greater chance that you will be able to sustain the milk production. And all of this depends on your ability to trust your body. So the research said that women that trust their bodies are sure of their milk producing capabilities are better able to sustain it. They're better able to find solutions to problems that can exist, and yes, they can exist. And you would know that yes, the solutions to a lot of these problems are simple and can exist. Except when there is a medical condition. Say there has been a breast surgery or anything else that may have damaged the ducts. And that's a rare phenomena. Most women can make milk. So here I come to those two things. One is to be able to produce breast milk, and most women can. So those of us who cannot, they may have a medical condition. But it is one thing to produce breast milk and another thing to breastfeed. For a lot of us to sustain breastfeeding, a lot of changes, adjustments may be needed. And that is where solutions exist. That is where you can find help. So right now, as a pregnant woman, at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you an activity to figure out your preferences, your individual plan, your individual lactation plan that you can make at the end of your pregnancy, towards the end of your pregnancy. And that helps, like I said. So as a pregnant woman or a couple, you may have your own doubts regarding breastfeeding, your own fears, your own apprehensions. You may have some questions, you may have certain doubts, and I see that, you're thinking. So yes, you may have all of them, and the ones that you're thinking about right now that you're listening to me, note them down in a copy. Maybe you want to share a story that seems unfavorable to what I'm saying right now. You have that story in your head. Write it down. Probably you are uncomfortable with the idea of a baby latching at your breast. Write that down. Know that all of this is normal. I felt a lot of these apprehensions, and a lot of us do. The first step to finding solutions is to write your problems. If you do not know what could be your inhibitions, your apprehensions, it will be very difficult later to figure out solutions because it gets overwhelming, right? So, yes, you should prepare for breastfeeding right in pregnancy. So lay down your lifestyle, also your lifestyle, your priorities, your apprehensions, questions, doubts, discomforts, and discuss with an expert, and know that there is help out there. You will realize that there were so many answers, so many workarounds for your individual problems that you can get from somebody who sees so many women on a day-to-day basis, and may give you options to explore that maybe people around you, especially in the Indian setup that we live in, may not be able to give you. Because when we go to individual advice, it's about what people have opted for. And probably the generation before us did not have those solutions. So what they opted for may not be optimum for you, right? So it also makes great sense to be able to talk to people who see a lot of women on a day-to-day basis. And there's nothing wrong in trying to figure out your answers from people around you. That may help as well. For example, initially during my own breastfeeding journey, I had an improper latch. And how did I figure that out? Because I did not make a lactation plan, and I wish I could have done that. I was talking to a friend and telling her that I already have sore nipples early on, and she told me that she had a similar experience and she went to this specialist, and the specialist told her that she needs to correct her latch. And that's when I realized, okay, there's something called a latch. We often assume that breastfeeding is a normal phenomena. As much as it is a normal phenomena, a lot of us are distracted from our hard wiring, from our innate intuitions, because we live in a very different environment from what the nature provides to us. And that is when I realized, okay, I'm not doing it right. And that one small change helped me to sustain breastfeeding. So when I say it is one thing to make milk and another thing to breastfeed, I'm talking about the solutions that you can find. So here are some of the questions that you can find a hint as your lactation plan when you discuss it with a specialist, or you check this out with your mentor at your breastfeeding class, or prenatal classes, birth classes. What are some of the common myths in your culture circulating about breastfeeding? What is normal? And what is not associated with breastfeeding? We often confuse problems that should not be associated with breastfeeding because it feels that the entire postpartum is about feeding your baby. As much as that is true, there are a lot of dimensions to it that nobody tells us. So it makes sense to know what may not be associated with your capability to breastfeed. what it means to be exclusively breastfeeding, what mixed feeding would mean for you and your baby. If you had a prior bad experience with your breastfeeding journey, if this is your second or third pregnancy, you may have so many questions from there. Write them down, and in your next visit, ask your mentor or gynecologist or your provider. Now that you have laid down everything according to your preferences, ask what options do you have? How can a lot of these things be solved? And I definitely assure you, with my experience and from the experience I get from talking to people, is that all of this should help you with a path early on. And it will help you struggle less later. So once you know that early sore nipples could be because of a poor latch like I did, it will help you sort it out early on. And then, not really sit with it and sulk and feel all of it as a bad experience and feel that, you're not able to, we all feel bad when we aren't able to do something perfectly. And, early motherhood comes with its own share of changes that help you and your body resume pre-pregnancy function. And so any addition to this existing recovery phase will be a deterrent. And knowing your options is going to empower you, right? It's going to empower you. It's going to make you feel in control, which is a very important thing in motherhood. And which may still be a struggle because I struggle with it till date. At the end of this episode, I extend this activity to you to lay down your preferences, options, anything that you like. And once you're sure of your preferences, problems, doubts, you can work on it progressively. You can also listen to season 2, episode 2 that clears most of the doubts that women have in early motherhood. And I will be, because I think it's very important, I will be bringing more and more episodes on breastfeeding, maybe as a part of expert sessions on season 3 of Mommytrack Daddy Whispers Podcast. With this, I will have to take a leave. And take care, dear. You look lovely, and sometimes we do feel we do not look that, glowing, etc. And that's a myth. A lot of us don't really glow. I did not glow in pregnancy. But you will feel closer to nature. You will feel like, what have you done? It's so profound. Pregnancy is so profound. It brings you closer to yourself, to nature, like I said. It makes you feel that you're powerful. And you are powerful, Mother Goddess. You are powerful. And you have it in you to do what it takes to give tons of love to your baby, despite sleepless nights that people talk to you about right now. Always remember that you have what it takes to love yourself, to love your baby. And with this, I will take a leave. If you like listening to me, please subscribe, share, hit me up with your questions, worries, anything that you think you need answers for. That is the reason behind the podcast, to bring you answers. Send me your feedback. I love it when I get a comment or so about how this is benefiting you, or a feedback. I love that too. I am thinking of including those in this series. So if you send me a feedback, I will give a shout out to you on the episode. If you think this has helped you, do share it with people who may find help from this, because birth work is community work at the end of the day. I found help from friends, from people I did not know I could find help from. So if this has helped you, I encourage you to share it with people who may find help out of these. I also have a website now, divyakapoor.com, divyakapoor.com. You will find different series in there. The pregnancy series, the postpartum series, fatherhood episodes, parenting episodes. It will help you find what you need in a more categorical way. And remember, you got the power. You, mama, are powerful. And whenever you do not feel like it, because We often think we've been robbed of our power, of our control. But it's not power that we've been robbed of. It's the power that is unfolding when we know we do not have control. That is when the real power overtakes, engulfs you in all its glory. Remember, you got the power. Stay tuned. Keep listening.